My friends, love is not always loud. It does not always speak hymns or proclamations. Sometimes it exists in silence, in the spaces between words, in the eyes that linger just a little longer, in the actions that echo louder than any vow ever could. Today, I invite you to look deeper, beyond the surface of appearances, into the unconscious motives, the hidden patterns, to see love not as a performance, but as a soulful presence. Let us explore 6 secret signs someone truly loves you without ever saying a word. But first, a truth: the meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed. Carl Jung. And now, let us begin with the keynotes. Without realizing it, someone who truly loves you will begin to mirror your energy. Not because they're trying to impress you, but because their unconscious is aligning with yours. This phenomenon is subtle, often unnoticed by either person, yet deeply significant. It's a kind of emotional echo, a rhythm that beats in tune with your own. If you shift your posture, they might shift theirs. If you laugh, they may find themselves laughing too, even if they didn't quite catch the joke. If you're anxious, they become a calm presence, sensing the need to steady the storm inside you. This is not mimicry, nor is it manipulation. It's a natural expression of empathy and resonance. Jung believed that at a certain depth, our psyches are connected through what he called the collective unconscious, a vast sea of symbols and instincts that link us all. When someone loves you, they don't just see your behavior on the surface, they feel what lies beneath it. Their body reacts to your subtle emotional cues, often without them even knowing why. They may speak more softly when you seem tired. Their pace slows when they sense you're overwhelmed. Their laughter brightens when they see you smile. And when you fall into silence, they do not fill it with noise. They hold the space with you, attuned to your stillness. This level of unconscious harmony is one of the purest forms of connection. It shows that your inner world matters to them. You're not just seen, you're felt, and in a world full of noise and distraction, this kind of silent attunement is rare. It is love without conditions. It is understanding without explanation. It is the soul remembering the presence of another soul, and responding not with words, but with deep, intuitive rhythm. So pay attention to the ones who subtly shift when you shift, the ones who adjust their energy not to control you, but to meet you. These are not rehearsed behaviors. These are echoes of the heart, signs of a love that doesn't need to speak to be known. An individual who truly loves you will demonstrate a protective presence that operates not through overt declarations or dramatic gestures, but through a consistent and often understated safeguarding of your emotional and psychological well-being. This phenomenon can be conceptualized as a subtle form of psychological guardianship, wherein the individual instinctively prioritizes your sense of safety and peace, sometimes even before their own. Their behavior reflects not control or possessiveness, but an intrinsic, often unconscious, reverence for your vulnerability. In moments of distress or perceived threat, whether social, emotional, or situational, their presence often becomes a stabilizing force. They may position themselves physically closer when your body language suggests discomfort or anxiety. They may intervene or redirect conversations that could potentially cause you harm or embarrassment, not to dominate but to protect your dignity. Importantly, these responses are not calculated or consciously strategic. They emerge spontaneously from a place of deep emotional attunement. This protective behavior is best understood through Jungian psychological constructs such as the archetype of the caregiver or guardian, which operates within the collective unconscious. According to Jung, archetypes are universal, primal patterns and images that reside within the human psyche and influence behavior on an instinctive level. When someone assumes a protective stance in your life, they are, perhaps unknowingly, embodying this archetypal role in service to the self, not just their own, but yours as well. Moreover, such individuals exhibit what can be described as emotional foresight. They anticipate your needs, sense shifts in your mood, and adapt their behavior in ways that shield you from unnecessary psychological strain. This might manifest in small, often unnoticed gestures. Walking on the side of traffic, checking in after a difficult event, or simply maintaining a calm demeanor in environments charged with stress or conflict. The essence of this kind of love is not in domination, but in containment. It provides a psychological holding space, one in which the individual communicates, without the need for verbal affirmation, that your soul is safe in their company. It is a love that, rather than seeking to possess or change, simply stands as a quiet sentinel at the gate of your emotional world. This is not merely affection. It is a form of psychic stewardship, deeply rooted in unconscious loyalty and care. Such a presence may go unnoticed in the absence of conscious reflection, but its impact is profound. It fosters a relational dynamic grounded in trust, stability, and mutual respect, elements that, from a depth psychology perspective, are indicative of mature, individuated love. When someone truly loves you, their eyes become windows not just to their soul, but to yours. Their gaze lingers, not with intensity to intimidate, but with a depth that seems to bypass the surface entirely. They do not merely look at you, they see you. They see the person behind the persona, the soul behind the smile, the wounds behind the strength, and they see it all without judgment. This kind of eye contact is not fleeting. It is deliberate yet natural. It may catch you off guard at times, for it feels like they're reaching into a part of you even you haven't fully explored. That's because this gaze doesn't originate from the ego. It arises from the psycho, from that deep, archetypal layer of the human being that Carl Jung so often spoke of, the place where the true self resides, beyond the masks we wear. When someone looks at you this way, it is as if time slows down. You may find it difficult to hold their gaze, not because it is uncomfortable, but because it is disarming. It asks nothing, but reveals everything. They are not looking flaws or perfection. They are not analyzing your expression. They are bearing witness to your inner being, silently affirming that you exist, that you matter, and that you are known. In Jungian psychology, the act of truly seeing another is symbolic of individuation, the process by which we become whole by integrating the conscious and unconscious parts of ourselves. And love, when real, facilitates that process. It holds up a mirror to our shadow and our light. The one who loves you in silence will look into your eyes and reflect not just what you are, but what you could become. Not in the sense of wanting to change you, but in the sacred act of recognizing your potential. This gaze is often wordless, yet it communicates volumes. It says, I see your past, and I do not flinch. It says, I recognize your pain and I honor it. It says, you are not invisible here. That look does not demand reciprocity, it offers sanctuary. It offers recognition at the deepest level, a meeting not just of bodies or minds, but of souls. And perhaps the most remarkable thing is that this kind of eye contact does not tire with time. It does not fade after the novelty wears off. In fact, it often deepens, because true love is not about discovering something new every day. It's about rediscovering the same soul in countless new ways. To be seen in this way is to be healed without touch, understood without explanation, and loved without conditions. It is the gaze of the psyche, reaching out to meet its counterpart. And once you've experienced it, you will always recognize it, because it feels like home. The truest form of love rarely announces itself with grand gestures or cinematic moments. Instead, it reveals itself in quiet, consistent acts of devotion, small sacrifices so subtle they often go unnoticed. These sacrifices are not made for applause or recognition, but rather because the one who loves you has, perhaps unconsciously, placed your well-being alongside their own. It is in these seemingly mundane decisions, these minute offerings of time, comfort and energy, that love quietly thrives. They remember the things you forget. Your favorite snack, the way you take your coffee, that one appointment you were anxious about. They listen not just to your words but to the space between them. And when it matters, they adjust, not to lose themselves, but to make space for you. They stay up late to talk when you're troubled, even though they're exhausted. They take on an extra chore so you don't have to. They give you the last bite, the warm blanket, the better seat. These gestures are not rooted in obligation, but in care that flows naturally, as if your peace brings them peace too. In Jungian terms, love at this level involves the diminishing of ego, not its destruction but its softening. The ego, left unchecked, is self-serving, always asking, what about me? But love transcends that. It whispers instead, what about us? This is the beginning of wholeness, of the sacred union between self and other. Jung often spoke of the process of individuation, becoming one's true self by integrating the conscious and unconscious. Real love supports this process, not by making demands, but by nurturing growth. The small sacrifices someone makes for you aren't meant to rescue or define you. They're meant to support your becoming. Such love is patient. It waits for you when you are late. It forgives when you forget. It tolerates your silences when the words are too heavy to form. And though they may never say it aloud, their actions gently whisper, "You matter more than my convenience right now." That is not weakness. It is strength of the rarest kind. The strength to set aside one's own impulses momentarily, for the sake of someone else's comfort or joy. And it's important to note that these sacrifices are not about losing oneself in the other. True love does not erase individuality. Rather, it is the act of choosing, again and again, to care for the other even when there is no benefit or recognition to be gained. It is a slow burning fire that sustains, not consumes. It is the art of tending to the small things so that the larger foundation of trust and intimacy is never shaken. So if someone in your life quietly does these things, remembers what matters to you, bears a little more weight when you're tired, puts your needs before their convenience, know that this is not trivial, it is sacred. Because in a world that often shouts for attention, the soul speaks in whispers, and the soul in love gives, not loudly but steadily. This is how love endures, not in loud declarations but in soft devotions, not in what is taken, but in what is willingly, silently given. There is a kind of silence that is not empty but full. A silence so rich, so comforting that it becomes more expressive than any words could ever be. When someone truly loves you, this kind of silence naturally arises. It does not demand conversation or fill the space with distractions. It simply allows both souls to exist together, in presence, without pressure. And within that shared quiet, there is an unspoken affirmation: you are safe here. You do not have to perform, explain, or pretend. Most silences in our lives are loaded, filled with tension, awkwardness, or the gnawing need to fill the void. But this silence is different. It feels like home. It's the kind of silence where you can sit side by side and let time pass without urgency, without fear of being misunderstood or judged. Nothing needs to be said, because everything is already understood. From a Jungian perspective, this experience touches something deep in the Psyche. Carl Jung wrote extensively about the self, the whole of the Psyche, integrating both conscious and unconscious aspects. And one of the signs that someone has touched yourself is that their presence does not fragment you. Instead, it draws you into greater coherence. Their silence does not threaten your identity. It honors it. Their stillness becomes a mirror in which your own being can rest without distortion. In this space, you are allowed to just be. Not your persona, the mask you wear for the outside world, but your true inner self. And remarkably, this silent understanding often arises not because of shared experiences, but because of shared resonance. Their soul recognizes yours, and in that recognition, speech becomes optional. This kind of love gives you room to breathe. When you are overwhelmed, they do not press for answers. When you are broken, they do not rush to fix you. They simply stay. Their presence says, "You don't need to have it all together right now. I'm here." And the beauty of this is that they are not waiting for the silence to end. They are not tolerating it. They are inhabiting it with you. Safe silence is also healing. In that stillness, wounds that could not be spoken aloud begin to soften. The nervous system relaxes. The mind unclenches. The soul slowly comes forward. Because sometimes, words are not the path to understanding. Sometimes what we most need is to be witnessed in stillness. In a world that constantly demands noise, explanations, validation, opinions, this kind of silence is radical. It is spiritual. It is love stripped of performance. Love that asks nothing but to be with you. It says, "You don't need to entertain me, impress me, or reassure me. I just want to be near you." And that is when you know the love is real. When silence is no longer something to escape, but something to cherish. When you no longer need to speak to feel heard. When you no longer need to try to feel seen. When the quiet between you becomes the most profound conversation of all. This is not the absence of communication. It is the presence of soul-level connection. And once you have known it, you will never again mistake loudness for intimacy, nor words for love. Because some of the most beautiful things ever said between two people are never said at all. So I ask you to pause and reflect: who in your life speaks without speaking? Who touches your soul through presence, not performance? Who mirrors your pain without asking why, and holds your joy without needing to own it? Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Let this be your awakening. See the love that has always been there. In stillness, in synchronicity, in soul. Not all love needs to speak. Sometimes, the deepest love says nothing at all. Thank you.